Death da, Owie Nacken. Welcome to podcast number 150. Last Friday was a varied day, really. We had a service at Eglesale for dear Pat. I've known Pat and Brian for many years now, very heavily tied up with the St Mimber Link magazine years ago. And we had a lovely service at Eglesale, wonderful crowd. And then afterwards, actually, they did have the wake at Weybridge Cricket Club, which is a first for them. And the weather was handsome, so it was a perfect venue, really. It was really good, really good. And we had dear Jocelyn's memorial service as well up in Delian. Jocelyn, well, they moved to America years ago. But 'twas lovely that her ashes was brought back home here to Cornwall. And then we had another burial of ashes up St Breward in the afternoon. So a bit of a varied day, really, on Friday. Saturday, another Saturday with no funerals. And I did do a bit of paperwork in the morning. I think I cut the grass from memory as well. Well, it was dry, because it was dry first thing. Went out, walked the dogs, and then just as the carnival's getting ready, Weybridge Carnival, it starts to rain. And we went over to work. There's a growing band of people, actually, that watch the carnival from our place every year, because you got a lovely sight, you up high looking down. And you may have seen, I did put on all the photos of all the exhibits. I mean, it was a fantastic effort, really, when you see what the weather forecast was like. And it did rain, not too bad, while the carnival went past us. But then me and Beth went over town because we was going to meet up with our mates, Pixie and Dixie, and it poured down, absolutely poured down. So we got a bit wet, but we did meet up with A and also our mates from the Coasters Cycling Club. They was over the tent, and Ken Perrin and some of the running club as well. So we had a good evening, but it was spoilt a bit, by the rain, because they had the fun fair there and everything. And it wasn't too good. Obviously, Sunday, the weather wasn't very good again. It was showery, so we decided to go bodyboarding. Now, I haven't been bodyboarding, crikey, I would think for about 12 months. So that was really good. I did enjoy that, I must admit. And then 'twas back to work again on Monday. So Monday and Tuesday, rare for us, really. No funerals at all. So I did manage to do bits of odds and ends. I had me mate Roland come to see me in the afternoon just to talk about advice about running, doing the marathon and everything. And then I did on Tuesday manage to get out and do my next interview for the podcast. So I got that one all saved, just got to edit it, but it's going to be a booty. It really is. And then we was on to yesterday, Wednesday, for dear Elizabeth's funeral out at St Mimber Church. And lovely gang, really good. The church was nearly full, I would think. Lovely. I mean, she was about 90, I think, from memory. But we had a lovely service. But it was, we did have a bit of an incident. Well, not incident, but we had a bit of a panic because I don't think other funeral directors, a lot of them have stopped doing it. I mean, we still do it, and there are still a few around, but one thing they've stopped doing, I think, since COVID, is taking names of people that go to funerals. So every funeral, we're there, we go early, and as people come into church or come to the crematorium, we got these little attendance cards. And a lot of people, especially ones that have moved down from up country, they haven't seen them before. And they say, well, what's all this about? And basically, we ask if they're family or friends. And if they're friends, we say, would you like to sign an attendance card? So basically, they put their name there. And then underneath, they put if they're representing an organisation or perhaps somebody that couldn't make the funeral. Because it could be, like in this case, we go to the church and then we go to the crematorium, but the family wouldn't see everyone that was there in church. So they wouldn't have known, everyone that had taken the time to turn up. So these cards seem lovely little things, really. So in St Mimber Church, as you go in the door, there's a lovely kind of a worktop space. And we were kind of greeting people as they come in, and Daisy was there doing the cards as well. She put her phone at the back of the worktop with my car keys next to it because she was being left behind to pick up the church afterwards. We went on to the crematorium. So she said to me as the service started, "Oh, have you got your car keys?" I said, "No, I ain't got them." She said, "Oh, perhaps the bearers have got them because I put them down there." They didn't have them. So I said to her, I said, "The only thing I can think is that somebody have come in, signed a card, saw the keys, picked them up thinking they were theirs and gone off." So I said, when everybody's coming out of church, I said, you stand there, look at everybody, and hopefully they'll say, "Here, I don't know whose keys these are." Well, that didn't happen. Now, luckily, Merv, he had a good idea because he went outside of the church and he looked around to see if there were any cars the same make as mine. And luckily, there was mine, then there was a car, then there was another car behind that was the same make as mine. And he waited there, and the owner of the car come up, and going by the description, I'm sure it is Robert from out Port Isaac way. I'm pretty sure the way they were describing him. And Merv said he saw him go into his pocket for his keys. So Merv went over to him and said, "Here, you haven't got a spare pair of keys, have you? A spare set of keys?" He said, "Well, I have." He said, "I ain't got a clue where they come from." So Merv said, "Well, I think you'll find them ours." So he pressed the button and sure enough, our car opened. So, of course, they had a good laugh about it. But we were so lucky that he parked there, because if he'd parked up in the village by, say, the Percival Institute or something, well, we wouldn't have seen him. We might not have ever got the keys back because there was no way of telling that it was our keys. And I think a new key for that car, I think it costs about 300 quid. So, yeah, that's something that we won't forget. I don't think Daisy will do it again. I think she'll put the keys in her pocket next time. But that was a close shave. As well as hiring out our limousines, also, if we got time, and we haven't always got time, we've got a fantastic PA system that we sometimes hire out to other funeral directors. Tin always works out that we got the time to do it, I must admit, because it does take up a big chunk of the day. But we did manage to do that on Wednesday as well, so that was good. And then this morning we was on early. We had a service in at the crematorium at 9 o'clock, and just one of these short 10-minute ones. And that went really nice, I must admit. We sat and listened to some music and had a real lovely feel about it. And it's like I've said before, whether there's 3 people there or 303, 'tis still such a meaningful thing. And that went really well. One thing I did mean to say, actually, going back to the carnival, I saw our cousin Dave Tucker, up from Truro. I think 'twas Hannah that was playing in one of the brass bands. And he saw us there. He come up. We had a lovely yarn, really good yarn. So it was good to see Dave. There was a few other bands there as well, even our old friends from the Falmouth Marine Band as well, that you will see they play at all the Cornwall matches for the rugby and that. But yeah, it was lovely to have a good catch up with Dave. Well, that's enough from me anyway for this week. Back to Graham now. Graham, or Albert Hawke, and we've had some lovely comments, even when I was at the carnival last week, people saying how much they've been enjoying Graham's memories and everything. So we got another little section from Graham tonight. So I'll hand over to him again now, and then I'll speak to you directly. So here it is.
And then when I was 14, she spotted I was miming with a tennis racket to Shadows Records and things like that, you see. And by then, when I was getting older, out of the toy age, the combined family, all of us living together, they used to say, "Look, we'll give you one main present rather than give you something," you know. Yeah. And I wanted a cassette recorder, which then the latest Philips recorder and stuff like that. Yeah. And this one year, she said, "You know, what do you want this year?" And I said, "I don't know, I'll think about it." And she said, "Well, I've got an idea. Would you like a guitar?" I said, "Wow, yeah. Yes, I would." Yeah. So we went down one Saturday to Newquay. It was a good shop down there, recommended, Bill Harding's in Newquay. And we came back with this guitar. It was my Christmas present. Yeah. And I just clicked. Yeah. Taught myself from the tutor book. Yeah. Bert Whedon playing a day. Yeah. School friend, Curly Rickard, Graham Record, full name, proper name. He's called Curly though because he had his hair cut short. School logic, isn't it? Nicknames. But anyway, he had one. He'd been having guitar lessons with Miss Cox.
Yeah.
But he said he wouldn't get it on very well with it. They were playing like Coming in the Mountain. He didn't want to do that.
That's me. That's me.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
So, but also, she was doing her best.
Yeah.
And anyway, he said, how about we meet up and see, what can you do, what can I do? And that was working quite well. And then in Bodmin Grammar School, we were in the same class. And there was a good guitarist called John Pern, who later went on to be the editor of the Cornish Guardian. And sadly, he passed away last year. He used to play lead guitar in the Jaguars. We kept friends all our life as well. But he was at least 2 years ahead of us in playing. He was fantastic. And we used to watch him and hear him. And so we picked up tricks and he showed us it. And you watch Top of the Pops every Thursday evening rather. And there was no internet, there was no local bands. We weren't old enough to be allowed to go to local bands yet. And we watched what their hands were doing and absorbed it. And
exactly.
Eventually formed our own little school band. Yeah. And that was it. Never looked back. The rest of my life, a major part of my life,
Because that was so similar to me, because I had my first guitar when I was 6.
Yeah.
So mother and father got Miss Cox to come. We did Coming Round the Mountain and all things like that. Crikey. And then after a few weeks, she said, that's enough of the guitar, let's do theory. And that was it kind of thing. So I played a little bit, but until I was 14 when you come to school.
Yes.
That it really kicked in,
That's right. So I came back here to teach that year.
Yeah. But lovely. So did you play you played in groups when you were at university and that?
The school band was called The Fifth Dimension. We formed when our first performance was the very first performance was just 3 of us, me, Curly, Graham Record, and Patrick Phillips, a Weybridge lad, Paddy. He used to play for Rick and the Hayseeds at the time.
Yeah, I know Patrick, And
there was a boy in our class called Ian Hewitt from Padstow who was going to play drums, but he didn't have a drum kit. But he was going to have some cardboard boxes or something, And we used to practice in the physics lab at dinner time. A dear old teacher called Mr. Kemp used to let us practice in there. And there was this Christmas concert always held the last week of term where it was only a small grammar school really, about 300 pupils at the time. And everybody could fit in the one hall and there was a stage. It's a wonderful Christmas concert with comedy and music and all that sort of thing. And we fancied, doing songs. And I was singing and playing guitar, and at that point, my voice had started to break, but I could sing a good falsetto, very high falsetto, as well as the lower register. And the first song I ever sung in public was Rag Doll by the Four Seasons, and I could hit those high notes too. Can't quite reach so these days, but not. I have to lower the key. But Curly was playing guitar. And Ian Hewitt was doing a pretty good job on cardboard boxes. And then it came to the actual morning of the concert. And Ian came rushing up to us and he said, Paddy, his band played in school last night. It was a social club. And he said, all their gear's down there. Why didn't you ask Paddy if he'll play drums for you? We said, no, we can't do that. He said, well, bloody stupid on stage with my cardboard boxes. Sorry, I swear there. I shall look stupid playing cardboard boxes on stage. But I said, well, we can't do that. He said, no, I'd rather you did. He was an amazing bloke to say that, right?
Exactly.
So he went with us and Paddy said, yeah, okay. He said, what is your amplification though? Because he said, I'm quite a loud drummer. So we said, we're using, it was my old tape recorder. Our 2 guitars were crudely stuck in the input of my old Philips tape recorder. It was pretty pathetic, but it was the only thing we had. He said, we will use the band's Vox AC30s.
Oh, brilliant.
So there we were suddenly on stage with proper Resolo microphones, stands, Vox and Paddy on drums. Yeah. And we did the Four Seasons, Ragdoll, and there was a hit by the Rockin' Berries called He's in Town, and that had a falsetto. That was my thing at the time. Mm-hmm. And Paddy said in the morning, he had a quick rehearsal with us, he said, we could do a third one, really. Can you do any instrumentals? Mm-hmm. And we said, we can do the Rise and Fall of Flingle Bunt.
Right.
And that's got a good drum part. He said, brilliant. We'd do that one in the band. I'd love to do that one.
Brilliant.
So that was our 3 songs.
God, fantastic.
And we called ourselves 3x5 because we were fifths.
God, it's brilliant.
And out of that band, a couple of other members said, we like that. I taught Chris how to play. He became our lead guitarist. He got on, well with it. And another boy called Philip Beeson from Treadwell. His nickname was Mush, but that's beside the point. I never did know why. No. But I taught him to play drums because by this time I got a drum kit as well. Yeah. Insatiable desire to learn every instrument I could get hold of.
Couldn't you? Fantastic, yeah.
And that was the Fifth Dimension.
Yeah.
But when I went to university, went to London University for 3 years, I felt like being in a band there. And I saw this notice on the notice board one day after a few weeks. Anybody interested in forming a rock blues band, come to the basement, room 30 or whatever, on a certain day. And I went down, and there's a room full of people there. And this chap, tall bloke, he turned out to be the bass guitarist, called John Herring. He came in and he had like leather boots on and a leather jacket and hair down to his armpits, Yeah. And we thought, Craig, because we were there all sort of dressed in, I was dressed in sports jacket and, all that sort of stuff. And he said, anybody here play bass? And one or two put their hands up. He said, right, you can leave because I'm the bass player. I thought, this is going to be a right malarkey, this is. Yeah. So they did. They got up and walked out. Oh. So he said, right, who can play guitar? So floods of arms went up, you see, including me. So he said, no. He said, there's far too many. We'll come back to that. Who can play lead guitar? And I didn't fancy that. I didn't consider myself at that point a lead guitarist. So I thought, no, I'll keep stum on this one. I've still got drums yet to go. Yeah. So I could play drums. So he said, who can play drums? My hand went up and I was the only one.
Get away.
And he said, right, you're the drummer. Stay behind afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll find out what sort of kit you... Who can sing? And, we went through this process. And anyway, we ended up with a really good lead guitarist from Switzerland. John Herring was the bass player. He was from London. The rhythm guitarist was from London called John Harrop. And I was the drummer. And we had a singer from America called Tony Froggatt.
Right.
So it was quite a multinational.
Exactly, yeah.
Cornwall was in there. Yeah. And anyway, John said to me, what drum kit have you got? I said, well, he's down in Cornwall. Oh, he said, you have to get it sent up then. And I said, I got a Premier. Oh, that's a good kit. So anyway, I could tell you loads about that. But I was in this group. We called ourselves Glass Onion.
Yeah.
No, our first name was Blue Light.
Right, okay.
Because my drum kit was blue, you see.
I see, yeah.
And it's always horribly difficult to choose a name of a band, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what that's like.
Yeah, totally.
So we were Blue Light, and our first performance we played in a college that we were in as a little party thing. And somebody after said, don't like the name Blue Light. And we said, why? They said, people will think you're the police. Emergency services. You have to call yourself something else. So we're back to square one. And we ended up being called Glass Onion.
Yeah. For
some strange reason. But anyway, we played cover versions of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Cream. It was really quite heavy stuff. Yeah. And there's a steep learning curve for me on drums because I bought the singles. My friend had a record player in the whole residence I was in. And I used to practice like crazy. And, it improved my drumming no end because the rest of the band were more experienced than me, in actual fact.
Exactly.
But I was a brilliant experience, really loved it.
Yeah. So when did you think about becoming a teacher then? What was the...
Well, when I went to university, I liked at school, particularly when I was in the sixth form, and we used to travel on the train. People would, naughty, do a bit of homework on the train, help each other, you see.
Yeah.
And I was, pretty good on maths. And they said, how do you do this? And I used to help them. Mm. And I said, I'm not doing it for you, but I'll do one similar.
Yeah.
And I found I could explain it to him, you see.
Yeah.
So I had that inkling in the back. I wanted to be a doctor, when I was very young.
Right. Yeah.
I fancied being a doctor. But when in biology we had to pull wings off dear little flies and stick them in a microscope and cut up earthworms, that put me off it already.
Yeah.
So I dropped that and took art instead, didn't I? Right. Less homework too. That was a cunning move. But anyway, that was that. So where did we get to? I lost track there.
Teaching.
Oh yes. So that was an idea I had, but I thought, why, you don't need to choose. I mean, the careers in those days, they told me because I was good at maths and geography, I could be a teacher or be a weatherman.
All right. I like that.
Makes sense, really.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll leave that dangling. So anyway, went to university, did my best, which was always my way, and chose Queen Mary College because they were the best college in London. They had a new computer teaching course.
Right.
And I'd seen the Cornwall County new computer down at County Hall in the sixth form. They took us down on a bus trip.
I see.
The maths and science students. Yeah. And I thought, this is going to be the future. I fancy a bit of this.
Yeah.
So that's how the computing got in, which proved to be very helpful later. Anyway, we had a careers interview there at university in our second year. And this chap gave us a list he said, there's about 300 questions here, don't be put off. I thought, that's nice.
Exactly.
So he said, I want you to take it very seriously. So anyway, I did. So that was me all over. I want to do my best. So I filled it all in, passed it in, went for the interview. And he said, right, I've analysed your results. And he said, you either ought to be a teacher or a farmer.
Good away.
Yeah, how on earth?
Yeah.
What's the connection? And my heritage, my family were all farmers. So something weird in my answers might have come over there. But I had no experience of farming, but the teaching was there.
Yeah.
So I thought, I don't fancy working out in the muddy fields. I think I'll go for the teaching.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll see what my options are. So at university, if you get a first class honours or a second, they would try to get you to stay on and do a Master of Science degree.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I'm good enough, I will. And I got an upper second.
Right, yeah.
Which is pretty good. So I was eligible. But I felt I'd had enough. I felt that I did want to teach. And I thought I'd rather teach at school level.
Yeah.
Up to A level.
Yeah.
I don't want to go any further and end up trying to teach at university. I didn't feel that was me.
No. Okay.
I like working with I didn't say the music, whereas in a school, music is a part. You can start a guitar club or something.
Exactly.
So that's the way I went. And then came back. I wanted to get back to Cornwall to teach ideally, but Devon, was okay. And so I applied for Exeter University to do the 1 year postgraduate teachers training course.
Right, yeah.
Did that. As part of that course, I taught at Bude Grammar School for a term. Right. The Christmas to Easter term. And then I'd applied for my first job, which I got the interview and got accepted, luckily. That was at Oakhampton School. Right. And I was there for 8 years and very happy there. And I was getting new experiences, evolving, improving. And when my old tutor from Exeter, he used to visit because we'd have students there, and he said, "You still here?" He said, "Have you moved yet?" I said, "No, I like it here. What's wrong with it?" He said, if you want promotion, after a couple of years in teaching, you ought to think of a move. Right. Because it helps if you've got an experience of several schools before you apply for a head of department or whatever. Yeah. So said, no, I'm happy here. You know, I go home most weekends, 40 miles. Is, fair enough from Oakhampton to Weybridge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I still consider home as Weybridge, really.
Yeah.
And then after I'd been there, the head of department comes to me one day and he said, I'm feeling professionally tired. That was a nice phrase.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, I think I'm going to take an early retirement soon.
Right.
But he said, I'd like you to consider applying for the job, because he said, you're full of ideas.
Yeah.
You've grown enormously into the job. He said, it'll be advertised nationally, but I'd like you to apply. Think about it, you see. So I did, and I thought, I feel I'm ready to go for it.
Yeah.
And then he changed his mind.
Oh, no.
And inside I felt disappointed.
Yeah.
And I thought, perhaps this is a sign, a signal that I am ready. So I came home that weekend and I told the family, I said, no, it's fallen through. So I said, I think County Hall, Cornwall then had a scheme where you could, if you paid for the postage, every month they'd have a list of job vacancies in Cornwall. Yeah. All teaching vacancies. So I said, I think I'll get on the mailing list and see what's up. And about the second weekend, it arrived on Saturday morning, and I picked it up, and it was Bude Grammar School. Right. And I'd done my teaching practice there.
That's right.
I thought, a lovely school up there. I think I'll go for that. But they were about to go comprehensive, so that was okay, because I taught in Oakhampton Comprehensive. So, and then I was having second thoughts. I said, well, hang on, there's a lot of teachers there who would remember me as a student. They might think, who's this bloke coming in trying to boss us around? Yeah. Not necessarily a good idea.
No. Okay.
So I decided to pass on that one.
Well, there we go. So I think we'll leave it there for this week, and the final part of Graham's interview will be next week. And 'tis a good bit, I tell you, 'tis proper. I've heard it already. Obviously, over the last week, we did have the sad news that dear Ozzy Osbourne had passed away, lead singer of Black Sabbath. And when we were young mid-teenagers getting into music, 'twas a very big influence on us. I know that when we were in Federation, the group with Graham Hawke, our first school group, we did do Paranoid by Black Sabbath. I must dig out the recording of it. I only just reached the notes then, I tell you. I don't think I could reach them now. But, like I say, Ozzy was a Black Sabbath, a fantastic influence on us. So sad news to hear that. And I thought that's what I would do for my Cornish little phrase of this week, instead of a Cornish word. Because as you all know, Ozzy was known as the Prince of Darkness. So I thought I'd do the Cornish translation of the Prince of Darkness. And that's An Pardargan an Tevauder. An Pardargan an Tevauder. The Prince of Darkness. And seeing we've been talking about darkness and everything, I thought my dialect for this week, I don't know if it's just down here in Cornwall, but if somewhere's really dark, like if you're out in the middle of the night, there's no street lights, which they're in here now after 12 o'clock, I tell you. But if there's no street lights or something, you'd say, Christ, it's dark as a sack out here. Dark as a sack. So that's what me Cornish dialect is for this week. If somewhere's really dark, really, you can't see anything, dark as a sack. Proper job. Right, there we go. So I'm going to leave you there now, and I will speak to you again next week. Wish ye well, do gannis, Cernobis Vican.